Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio, so today we've got a new EX that we need to be having a little bit of a chat about. It's Bellibolt! And we did kind of see this one the other day, but we did not get a good look. It's been revealed on a poster over in Japan. And unfortunately, the look we had at the poster, it was too small, we couldn't see it. Things were sad. Well, wonderful news, ladies and gentlemen. Now we've got a much better look at it. And this one looks pretty gosh darn cool. I should say the translation here comes from me, actually. So yay. Although I did check with a lovely Tunu1223 to make sure I wasn't doing anything particularly silly. But I wasn't. And I got it all myself. And I'm a little bit proud. So what we've got here is 280 HP, which straight off the bat, this is pretty big. 260 is about the average we tend to see here for a Stage 1 EX. 280 is pretty good. It's not as big as we saw on, say, Copperaji, which admittedly was particularly large. But 280, pretty gosh darn good, ladies and gentlemen. Pretty gosh darn good. It is worth noting that being a lightning Pokemon, it shares a weakness with Miraidon. And I do think that's kind of relevant, because, of course, Miraidon is looking to be one of the best cards in the game, one of the best decks in the game moving forward. So I do think we need to bear that in mind, because if people are trying to use weakness to counter Miraidon, they are going to end up countering this one as well as they do so. And I do think that is, like I say, something to bear in mind. It's not the end of the world, but it is something to keep in mind for now. So we've also got a retreat cost of 3, which is moderately high, but it's not the end of the world. I'm sure we will be fine. But what does it actually do? Well, what we've got here is 2 colourless energy, and this does 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. And this is the very definition of fine. It's not a great attack, it's fine. The 2 colourless energy is slightly annoying. I mean, you can use double turbo, but of course, using double turbo reduces it by 20, and this is a little bit of a problem. But this is a stage 1, so by the time you have this evolved, you could potentially have other stage 1s evolved, and that would include Fluffy, as an example. And that's very good, because that means that you can accelerate energy using Fluffy, so you accelerate 1 energy with Fluffy, you attach for the turn, you can attack with this, job's a good 'un. Yay! But it's still 50 somewhere. Obviously, if your opponent plays a Manaphy, that's going to be a pretty big deal, because Manaphy will, it's going to thwart you, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to thwart you, because Manaphy, of course, blocks bench damage, including this. That's a little bit sad. Boo, hiss, etc. It's alright. Like, if your opponent isn't playing Manaphy and they've got something on the bench which is about to be KO'd, this will finish off quite nicely and yay, etc. But I think that's the best we can say for the moment. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. But the second attack makes me very interested indeed. This is one that I can get far more behind. What you've got here is 2 lightning, 1 colourless energy, and you do 160 damage, and you have a choice. You may discard 2 lightning energy from this Pokemon. If you do, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. And just before we get rolling properly, the choice here is absolutely fantastic. The choice here is brilliant. Because what this basically means is, on turns where you're getting a KO, obviously paralysis stops your opponent attacking, retreating, etc. the next turn. But on turns where you're getting a KO, the paralysis is irrelevant. So you don't want to discard energy in order to get paralysis, because it doesn't really do anything for you. So there you get to keep your energy and then just go and get the KO, and that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. We like this. We like it very much indeed. But we also like automatic paralysis. Automatic paralysis is great. You can automatically paralyze, and that's huge. Like, I was commentating the Utrecht special event a couple of weeks ago, and we saw the Articuno coming in from Silver Tempest. And the Articuno from Silver Tempest, very, very cool card. 70 damage, plus 50 to itself, automatic paralysis. And that was actually, and the card's very deliberately designed, you've got 110 HP, so you can do that attack twice and just survive, and then the next time you use it, you get KO'd, but that's fine. And we saw people using this. This is very much a thing nowadays, because it allows you to essentially paralyze, and against decks that aren't using lots of switching cards, you can paralyze to bring them into range, get a KO, and it's essentially a way of saying, look, I can't get a one-hit KO now, but I can waste enough time to build up to a one-hit KO, and that's kind of awesome. And that's literally the point here. Paralyze until you can get a KO. Obviously, against Lugia, you're hitting 320 with weakness, you're getting a KO. Unless they play Dunsparce and take away their weakness, in which case you paralyze for one turn, and then you get a KO the next turn. Against Palkia, they're not going to be taking away their weakness, so you're getting an automatic one-hit KO. The paralysis ends up being irrelevant, but like I've said, in that situation, you just don't discard the energy, you just go ahead and take the KO. But in any situation where you're not getting a one-hit KO, this will allow you to paralyze and go and get a KO. We've seen a very, and I mean very similar thing recently with Zekrom, and Zekrom, again, very similar thing, free energy, 130, 60 to itself, automatic paralysis, and of course here, you can do this twice to yourself, and then the third time you get KO'd. Although that was Vivid Voltage, so remember that one is being rotated out, so there's no, which one are we going for here, which one are we going to choose malarkey. You have to go for this, because Zekrom's rotating out. Although this is way bigger anyway, so there's good reasons to go for this one, I think it's fair to say. And this is really good. This is really good. Because what we've got here is a way to just hit 160, which is a decent amount of damage. Basically 160 KOs, single prize Pokemon, and weakness. 320 KOs, the vast majority of Pokemon. There are a few little outliers, but generally speaking, 160 gets single prize Pokemon, or anything with weakness, and 2 hits gets anything. So if you're getting a KO, great. If you're not getting a KO, you discard 2 energy, and then you paralyze, and then they have got 1 turn to find a switch or something along those lines, and if they don't, you get a KO. And it's not even that bad in terms of energy. Obviously, I've already mentioned Flaffy allows you to attach 1 lightning energy to one of your bench Pokemon from your discard pile per turn per Flaffy, which is nice, although it is only to the bench, but still, it's fine. And then, of course, you've got Electro Generator, which is the new card which is coming around in Scarlet and Violet, that lets you look at the top 5 cards of your deck and put 2 basic lightning from there onto your bench lightning Pokemon in any way you like. Again, this only is to the bench Pokemon, and it is important to note, this is also only to lightning Pokemon, which won't always be a huge issue, but it is very much worth bearing in mind that sometimes you're going to have non-lightning Pokemon that you're going to want to use with this, and that's going to be a little bit sad, etc. But it's not discard all the energy from this Pokemon, you're only discarding 2 energy, and then you just need to get 1 energy back, because remember, you can attach 1 from your hand, so you only actually need to accelerate 1 energy per turn. So if you can hit 1 energy off of an Electro Generator, or you've got 1 Flaffy out, you will be fine. And then we look at this card as a whole and we go, yeah, 280 HP is very high. I'm not convinced about the weakness, but it's still very, very high. You're hitting a decent amount of damage, but you're basically 2-hit KOing everything, but you can have automatic paralysis, and this is the real difference between this and something like Zekrom or Articuno. The 2-hit KO. Articuno and Zekrom did 50 and 60 damage respectively. That is not a huge amount of damage, so you would frequently find yourself in a situation where you were giving your opponent 2 or 3 turns to get out of it. Here, they have exactly 1 turn, and especially if you can combine this with something like Iono, that's the one whereby both players shuffle a hand and put them on the bottom of their decks, and then you get yourself, each of you, a number of cards equal to your remaining prizes. So if your opponent takes a lead of a couple of prizes, and you can start getting automatic paralysis while using Iono to slow them down, and yes, I am fully aware that Bellibolt and Iono go together like fish and chips, and now we're using them together in the same deck, yes, This is absolutely wonderful. This is a really good card. And I've not even mentioned yet that you've got Miraidon, so your consistency here is absolutely through the roof, because Tandem Unit lets you search for 2 basic lightning Pokemon, which can be, your Pokemon that evolve into things like Bellibolt and Flaffy, or your other tech attackers, etc. So your consistency here is great, and I've mentioned that you've got Electro Generator, and frankly, ladies and gentlemen, this is looking very, very good. It's probably going to be a tech in Miraidon decks more than it is your own deck, I would imagine, but either way, I'm giving this a solid 4 Wassies. I was generally not that impressed with most of the EXs in Scarlet and Violet and Triple Beat, but in Snow Hazard and Clayburst, ladies and gentlemen, I'm finding some new favourites. These are looking good. That's what I think. I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk Pokemon card games, Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord and chat with us about Pokemon or anything else, and just generally have an awful lot of fun. Oh yeah, and get shout-outs on the channel like the lovely Evan Parker, who's been a supporter for a while and is a very lovely person. So shout out to Evan for the support and for being a very lovely person. But by far the most important thing is always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.